Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. Welcome into our second series of the evening. We're going to have a showdown between two of the most powerhouse names in Dota today. IG taking on LGD. Invictus Gaming and LGD both sporting a slightly different look from their times of heyday. Of course, TI3 not very kind to the Chinese squads as a whole, but both teams looking to get things back on track here in the tail end of 2013 and looking to get things back on track with a solid performance here through D2L Season 4, brought to you by HyperX. Taking a look at the teams and how they stack up against each other, we can see Invictus Gaming, led by Hal on carry, Ferrari 430, of course, one of the most world-renowned mid players you're ever going to see. YYF holding things down in the off lane with Banana, the new support and jungler with the departure of Chuan, and then, of course, Faith on the hard playmaking support. They've yet to play a series here in the D2L, and going to be looking to start things off with a nice win. On the other side of the river, their opponents for this match going to be LGD. And LGD has already been in action a little bit. We can see they're currently sitting tied for first, as only so many series could have been played at this point. They won their first match yesterday, and they're off to a good start. You can see Yao, the off lane, of course, DD, the support slash jungler, Zhao 8, a world-renowned mid player in his own right, and really going to be an interesting matchup between these two teams as we see him square off against Ferrari. Zhao Tuji on the carry position with DDC holding down the hard support again. In action yesterday, they got their first win, going to look to make it 2 in a row, but they're up against a hell of a test here in IG. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers, joined by Merlini for the co-commentary, analysis, and insight. We're going to have this best of 3 on the way, our second of the evening. Don't forget, we've got another coming up 3 hours from now. So the draft is taking place. We're going to jump right into that. Stick with us. We'll be right back with game 1 of this best of 3. LGD taking on Invictus Gaming here on the HyperX D2L Season 4. And as we can see, the draft well underway. Io and Chen leading things off for LGD. Certainly an interesting mix that we're going to talk about momentarily. Visage and Weaver, the first couple of picks for Invictus as the second ban phase moves along. But as I mentioned, when it comes to breaking down the draft and breaking down the nuts and bolts of Dota, guy I have along with me, one of the best in the business. His name is Ben Merlini Wu. Merlini, my friend, welcome back in for our second series.
Hey, how's it going? This should be a very, very exciting game with LGD China facing off versus IG. And IG is a little bit of roster reshuffle, Banana and Hao, the two new replacements on their team. They had a very stable roster from TI2 to TI3, but I think they were very unhappy with their performance and looking to heat things back up, hopefully taking down LGD 2-0. It looks like most other people think that that will be the case, considering the odds 70% IG, 30% LGD China.
Yeah, and when you look at the way these two teams stack up, I mean, we saw LGD in action yesterday. They looked damn good, but something that I think is worth talking about, and we're certainly going to see on display here with the draft we already see already. We really pointed this out, and we saw it play out in front of our eyes. LGD, one of the best teams in the world at pure 5-man Dota, just going to take team fights wherever they can, trying to make things happen in that kind of way instead of, say, your typical what you would call rat Dota or much more isolated kind of engagements. They just tend to excel so much better in moving as a group. But now that you have the IO pick and the Chen, we're going to have to see them get outside of that comfort zone a little bit to really get the most out of that IO. The Timbersaw certainly lends itself to early team fight potential. Dragon Knight, though, a hero who can contribute a lot, but we've seen already in the D2L, Dragon Knights have just been struggling to really get a lot of experience, get the items under their belt they really want to use. I'm anxious to see what LGD is going to be able to bring to bear and show us now, because the IO's not just out there to do what IO does. He also has a Chen on team, which normally wants to be a part of a team that is moving in an isolated way as well. Smoke ganks early on, certainly very important.
Yeah, and looking at this lineup, nothing unusual. Visage and Weaver taken out very early by Invictus Gaming. I think the only thing that's a little bit strange is LGD using EO. This early, we saw EO used a lot yesterday, not in our first series of the day.
Yep.
Do they have an EO player, though? I have seen LGD China a fair amount for the past few months, but I have not seen any of their support players playing with DD and DDC.
Well, we're going to certainly see them come up to the task. And like you said, we saw IO use to great effect by a number of teams yesterday. And you kind of pointed this out, and it's something we're talking about. The adoption of that hero and of a much more Western-centric kind of a playstyle as a whole following the conclusion of TI3, which, of course, famously had no Chinese in the top 3, so the Chinese not willing to sit back and stick with what they thought worked and didn't, making adaptations of their own. And it really is exciting to see the talented players from across the world begin to adopt a play style that really and truly they ignored for a long time and was really just cemented with success in the West.
Yeah, I don't think that anybody can deny the success that Alliance and Navi had in TI3, and piggybacking off the success of Wisp. I think that LGD and the rest of China and Asia in general just kind of slow to pick it up. It took them a very, very long time to adjust playing against Wisp, and after that they realized, wow, he's a really strong hero. And sure, they can ban out CK as IG did in the 4th pick, but it doesn't matter. They can just pair it up with the Alchemist. They can even latch on a DK to fights to overcharge and give him even more damage mitigation, and he does good damage output with that overcharge. So he's not a limited hero by any means. We even saw Dendi play him solo mid, although I don't think any of these teams are ballsy enough to try that. It would be a fantastic sight to behold.
Yeah, that's something I've actually seen in Pinoy Dota a couple of times, doing the G1 qualifiers. Saw a lot of solo mid wisps here and there too, and it's really quite fun. It's really quite a spectacle to behold, because it really can be a source of a huge amount of damage output if you're able to max your spirits to get the damage up off of those, and then pair that with relocate and just kind of turn yourself into a floating little bomb. But one thing I like a lot about Invictus Gaming and what they've drafted so far, the 2 highest priority heroes they're going to have on the map that IO is going to want to gank is Weaver and Gyrocopter. Now there's a third in the Nature's Prophet, which is not quite as good at the other 2 as what concerning what I was going to say. But Weaver and Gyro, just 2 targets that are a little tricky to engage into. The Gyro can drop call down as soon as he sees the relocate coming. Of course, you don't always want to be isolated against a rocket barrage. He's going to be able to tear out a lot of damage out of any 2 heroes that try to gank him by themselves, off by themselves. And with him isolated from anyone. And the Weaver, of course, between Time-Lapse and Shikuchi, and if he builds a survivability item like a Lincoln's or a BKB, those are just 2 high-priority targets that usually the IO is going to want to go on, but it's going to come at a cost, or at least come at a much higher risk in the case of the Weaver.
And looking at these 2 lineups, LGD has a good mix of everything, like okay push with Chen, decent gank with EO. They can even gank mid with Dragon Knight. We saw EO Alchemist just absolutely demolish LGD International yesterday. Misery on his Chen just got constantly stunned by unstable concoction low. So let's see if LGD China has as much success as one of the teams did yesterday. And looking at IG's lineup, just a little bit of everything too. We have some split push potential from Furion. They actually have a lot of late game, though. Weaver and Gyro scaling very well with items. Nature's Prophet too, if he gets that early Midas and Shadow Blade and proves to be a constant thorn in LGD side. Furion is like okay versus Wisp. Wisp can usually gank him, especially a simple dust will almost always kill him. You can gain vision inside the Sprout with the Spirits, so he can't TP away either. So I'm not sure how much success Furion is going to have. It looks like it's going to be played by YYF, though, one of the best laners, I think, in the Eastern scene, hell, in the world.
And we could see, again, I want to thank our new stats man who's helping us out tonight, the Has Dota, doing a great job. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, but did a great job in our last game, and has decided to go ahead and sign on and help us out through the rest of the night. So make sure you guys check him out, give him some props on Twitch and on Twitter. It's at Has Dota, if I'm not mistaken. And as he just pointed out, this is a couple of legendary teams that have a legendary rivalry going. They've met 22 times and split those meetings 11 apiece. The last 2 meetings they have had, though, have gone in favor of LGD, who got the best of them. I'm pretty sure that's what I said. I'm hoping I didn't misread that. But with their current rosters. So anxious to see what these 2 teams are going to show us. Nonetheless, wouldn't surprise me at all to see either of these teams, if not both, meeting us in Las Vegas coming up in January, my friend.
And these certainly has some legendary players on IG. YYF and Ferrari, probably the 2 most popular players. Banana, widely regarded as one of the best supports. I think it's a really good pickup for them. How very stable carry. He's not super flashy, but he also doesn't take unnecessary risk, and I think that suits very well to their play. So on the side of LGD, just a very well-rounded lineup. DD and DDC, very stable supports. Yao is one of the best offlaners. He's also really good on Magnus. Xiao 8, he's the captain of the team, usually has a pretty solid draft, but LGD is known for 5-man Dota. They're not really known for huge individual plays.
Taking a look at the lineups, as they do seem to be splitting up, we actually have a lot of personnel heading up to this top lane for IG at the moment, so perhaps ready to show us something a little bit creative. They've got Faith Banana and Hal both hanging out here. So we'll wait to see if this is going to take shape into an offensive tri lane. Nonetheless, let's start with Faith on our Visage. He'll be handling our winged Pain Train. Then we're going to have Weaver handled in mid by Ferrari 430. Been a long time since I've seen a mid Weaver. The Nature's Prophet going to be played by YYF. Currently just kicking it back in the well as he's wont to do before the creeps spawn. Banana, as you mentioned, one of the most highly regarded support players in all the world. He'll be playing on Crystal Maiden with Gyrocopter going to be farmed up by Hal. The other side of the river, we got Zhao 8 ready to square off against Ferrari in mid. He'll be on the Dragon Knight this time around. Going to have DD playing on our Chen. The Timbersaw going to be played by Yao. Io played by DDC. And as you mentioned, LGD not a team known for their Io play, so we'll be keeping an eye on DDC to see how he handles the hero in one of his first appearances on the hero. And the Alchemist going to be played by Rabbit as he tries to find his farm up against what might be a little bit of pressure.
DDC leading CS boards with one last hit.
That's
he
right.
actually got one last hit on the tree, but that is probably the first time I've ever seen a Wisp top the CS charts, and they are being very, very aggressive with their warding right now. Places a sentry already there to block the Chen, but Chen is already on bottom lane, so it looks like a very untraditional 2-1-2. Looks like Alchemist is going to be in a world of pain, though, with only Wisp there to support him.
Well, the kill potential coming out of this lane is gigantic. You've got Frostbite likely to be skilled by Crystal Maiden, and she does. You're going to have the damage output that comes from Rocket Barrage.
Oh, look at Yao. He's taking so much harass on bottom from YYF.
Down at bottom, YYF going toe-to-toe with the Timbersaw. But, yeah, this is going to be one of those fun matchups to watch. But back to the top lane, having the Frostbite followed by the Grave Chill. The damage output, especially at level 2, that's when this tri-lane gets extremely scary, when everyone in it hits level 2, and you have the Nova coming out of Banana, you have Soul Assumption to go with Grave Chill if he doesn't skill it to begin with, and then you'll have Flat Cannon for a little extra harass coming out from Hal to go with what one. No, he actually skilled Flat Cannon first, so Rocket Barrage will be his level 2 skill.
I'm looking at YOF. He has the most pimped out Nature's Prophet I've ever seen. He has 8 item slots on him, and he has this like sneaky little backpack. He has these cool looking treants, and that is just one stacked guy. I think it's a very smart choice for Rabbit to pick up very early level acid spray. He actually picked it up at level 1, and this way he can just push out the lane and just get farm, because he can't really come up and right click creeps, not with 3 heroes, let alone 3 ranged heroes constantly there to hounds him every time he comes up for last hit. So DDC can just tether him up, give him some more mana. He has a clarity on him right now. I'm surprised that they didn't use it on EO. Just pop the spears and then a clarity so you get even more mana regen on Rabbit. But it's a very smart playstyle that they're doing right now. And eventually the creep wave is going to be pushed up to the wave. And Gyro's trying to harass right now, but he's not getting any last hits.
Yeah, the Gyro is kind of noticing that too. He's opting to try and zone things out more so than prioritizing farm. And that's the kind of thing that could come back to bite him. We see Zhao 8 has picked up his bottle here in mid. He's going to pre-rune and find himself an invis here at the 2-minute rune. Actually didn't pre-rune, got there a little bit late, 2.5 minutes by the time either of them had decided to check it out. Ferrari with a Wraith Band, not opting to get any kind of regen, at least for the moment. But this is going to be an interesting matchup. They're going to be able to trade a little bit here. With the bottle up on Zhao 8, he'll be able to continue to put points into Breathe Fire to do some damage to Ferrari, which Ferrari will be happy to trade back and forth with Geminate attack and, of course, with Shikuchi damage.
I think that top's in a lot of danger. YYF already TP top. Here is going to be our first blood, probably.
Here we go. DDC making his way into the woods. Rabbit going to be caught with the Grave Chill. Throws down the Acid Spray. Rocket Barrage with no other target. Plus 1 good Soul Assumption. Gives first blood to the Visage. And they might have a chance to track down DDC, but able to tether his way out of trouble. Very well-timed gank coming out as we saw the Nature's Prophet join up at top. They're not done. They've still got YYF's little flowers to tank the tower, and they do manage to get it. And again, this is exactly what I was saying, Merlini. Level 2 is when this lane was going to get very scary, and we see why. 2 kills on the board, quick, fast, and in a hurry.
YYF having a very good rotation on bottom, and this 2-1-2 lane for LGD is not working out. They weren't able to zone out YYF on bottom or even kill him with the help of the Chen. They didn't really gank mid with the Chen either, so the Chen pick is just very lackluster at this point. We haven't seen anything happen from him, and their double lane up top is just absolutely crushed. DDC actually outlevels Rabbit. Rabbit is not even level 3 on the Alchemist yet. He has just very, very little gold. Sure, he's been pulling some regen, but that first blood and another subsequent death on DDC really costing them this early game. Zhao 8 able to maybe get the rune on top. Nope. Looks like Banana has scouted out, and it looks like it will go to Ferrari. So Ferrari already with his boots and a DD in a bottle, and on top of the CS charts, he's 26-5 compared to the DK's 11-0. And Ferrari is just absolutely dominating him in the middle.
I'll tell you what, I love this rotation now. They're going to just go ahead and move Hal down to this bottom lane to allow him to catch up and farm. YYF's going to go into the jungle. And Visage already at level 3. He's got his boots up. He might just try to hang around here and soak some experience, or he could even come down as well. And this is just ingenious from them. They didn't manage to get the tier 1, but they did get the first blood. And they say, okay, that's fine. We've caused the problem we wanted to cause. Now let's just go ahead and stabilize, take the small advantage we have, and look to snowball it with a little free farm coming out on Hal now.
Rabbit is leveling up Acid Spray, though. Level 2 Acid Spray is still going for the, hey, I just want to push out waves and get as much experience as possible, and not going for the stun potential with Unstable Concoction. It's still decent damage with Unstable Concoction because more armor reduction means more damage with it, but I don't know if they can kill Faith, especially with one level up in Gravekeeper's Cloak, as well as Boots. He has no Magic Stick, though, but he's still higher level than both of those heroes sitting in the lane right now.
Speaking of levels, Io not too terribly far from level 6. He's made his way to level 4, benefiting quite a lot from being able to just suck up this experience that, as you mentioned, is just kind of pouring out in a stream of acid as Rabbit continues to put points into Acid Spray. So he will be a quick 6, and that's really going to be something very important at this point. I mean, it's not the end of the world that they gave up first blood and those 2 deaths, but still it's a pretty big hindrance in terms of their mid-game viability, or at least the later stages.
Ferrari is looking. He's hunting for Chen. He has a DD. I think he's going to scout him up the hill, wait for Shikuchi, and there it goes.
There's the
DD
swarm.
In a lot of trouble.
Look at that damage. DD.
Ridiculous amounts of damage. YOF thinks about TPing in, but he's like, you got it, buddy.
Gonna go ahead.
Centaur.
Yep, chasing down the Centaur. He actually juked him with the Centaur. And now he's going to go ahead and turn over on the DDC, who does latch up with Rabbit. Tears a hole through the woods, and that's going to be abused. Rabbit shows his face in shade of the tower. DDC and Rabbit waiting on some help if they do decide to dive. It looks like we're going to see Weaver go ahead and bail out. Yeah, Ferrari not wanting to press his luck too much. Very happy to just have gotten the kill on the chin to begin with. Still, make it 3-0. IG off to a convincing lead.
Ferrari looks like he's trying to get a kill on Xiao 8 in the middle. If he gets stunned, though, it's going to be very difficult to kill him.
There's the Dragon Tail. Banana's there with him, and they're going to dive him. Courier's there as well. Immediate TPN. He's got time lapse and will use it. Faith came in just a little bit too late. Now he's going to be caught with Chakram. Should be able to make it away. No, Xiao 8 wants to pursue. There's the Nova on the uphill. Here comes Ferrari and the Soul Assumption, enough to seal up another kill. Ferrari's not done yet either. He's going to eat the Whirling Blaze. Here comes the call down, but Yao eating a lot of damage. Tongfu Hao laying in. I read the last bit of his name. Hate when they do that. But Hao shows up at the right place at the right time, and LGD making it look like it's the last series. One team ahead, and ahead convincingly, make it 6-0 in just a 7-minute game so far.
IG has been doing a fantastic job of rotating with their heroes that usually don't do that much early game. Ferrari, he was very smart with his Shikuchi with the DD. If you click on this observer ward, he actually Shikuchi'd over here and then traveled up here with Shikuchi so that Chen didn't actually see it coming. And Weaver has been involved in 4 kills already this game. Hao, with his rotation on bottom, has been involved in 3 kills. So traditionally, these are just like very passive farmers involved in split pushing, maybe fighting once they get their BKB, possibly Lincolns on Weaver. But IG with these fantastic rotations, I think Chen is just going to be an absolute non-factor in this game. Level 8, 8 minutes in, level 4, and 0-2-0 on him.
Yep. Definitely going to be struggling to be of relevance in terms of levels, let alone in terms of getting up any core items he wants. It is going to be a Midas pickup coming out on Rabbit, so recognizing the early game, the early farm game at the very least, not really going the direction he wanted it to go. He has caught up a bit, though, sitting at 39 CS, so in third position, really not trailing the leaderboard too terribly much, and that might is certainly going to help him make up some ground in terms of gold. But as of right now, IG has really just been able to set the tone from the word go. And I'll tell you what's interesting about Crystal Maiden. She's got 3 points into her Arcane Aura. That should tell you just how much they want to fight early on. 3 points in Arcane Aura, just guaranteeing they always have the mana to fight, the mana to respond, no matter the situation. And LGD likely going to have to weather this storm a little bit longer before things get any easier. The good news, though, they're going to be able to create a tempest of their own once DDC hits level 6, and he's not far from it. Only about 200 XP away.
That's a pretty cool build from Banana. I rarely see Arcane Aura getting past level 1. I think level 1 is 0 to 1 mana, and then everything else is 0.5 mana game per level. So we usually only see the value point put in there, but I mean, it's you can't really like notice it. You're not like, oh my gosh, it's Aura owned so much. It's just like a very slight thing. Faith doesn't really have to go home to heal that often. Even though his mana's cost a buttload of mana, How can just farm wherever he wants and just expend Rocket Barrage and call down whenever he pleases. And LGD is kind of at a loss as to what to do right now. I think they're just trying to farm up with Rabbit, but I don't really see them being that effective with Wisp ganks. EO is very, very close to level 6. 1 or 2 Ogres will be his relocate up, but they're smoked right down the hill right now. They have a sentry. They see them. I think they know that the jig is up.
They're going to wait it out and try to make something happen. DK keeping his distance. It was pinged out, so they are very well aware of what's going on. And yep, now they're going to go ahead and move back through. Banana showing his face, and still no pop on the smoke from Visage. Not going to matter, though, as they knew he was there. Xiao 8 going to head back down to try and grab the 10-minute rune. It will be spawning top, so a little bit of bad luck for him. This is going to be an invisibility rune, so if they manage to pick this up, they could try to use it to put some more pressure on the mid.
Ferrari looking for Chen again. Chen is only level 5.
YYF's going to find the Chen. DD, who has struggled so much, about to struggle more as he dies a second time, make that a third time, and has really contributed next to nothing. They're actually pinging the courier, but doesn't look like they're going to try to pursue it out at all. But, yeah, I mean, really at this point, this is just a surgical dismantling of LGD's lineup. They are just finding every little weakness, every little lapse in decision-making and movement, and exploiting it to the fullest. 7-0 in a 10.5-minute game. No towers down, yet they have generated a 3,000 gold lead. That's actually pretty absurd.
Chen and Wisp is just way too greedy at this point. Wisp needs a tons of levels and farm, and Chen can't really do anything with the Wisp either, so he's kind of relegated to farming shoot. And you don't want your supports just doing that. They aren't level 6 on Chen. He only has 1 creep right now. Actually, his Wild King's at base, but he just got 2 creeps still. 0, 3, and 0. We've seen Chen just like hit or miss on quite a few of these games. Misery has 1 really good game, then 1 really bad game, then 1 really good game.
Rabbit in trouble at top. Going to eat the Nova. Rabbit. Ferrari right on top of him. Io going to go ahead and get him out of trouble, though. Fortunate for them. Io not likely. Actually, never mind. He's got a decent amount of response. DD's making his way up. Yao's there, as is Xiao 8, so they're not even going to end up giving away the Io kill. Was level 6 for quite some time before that attempt. But, yeah, it looks like LGD might decide to push off of this. Now, this is something they're going to be very good at. As you mentioned, that acid spray build, he's got 2 points into it. It helps with this sort of thing. The push that comes out from a Dragon Knight with Elder Dragon form cannot be underestimated. On top of the Chen, he's not yet level 6, but he certainly has a Centaur to help lead the charge.
Faith is TPing. YYF has his TP up too if they want to defend this. There's 2 creeps beating on the tower. Wildkin behind. Acid spray zoning them out too.
Here we go. They're going to go for it. Xiao 8 going to eat the Frostbite. Here comes the Unstable Concoction. 4-second countdown. Ferrari will be caught. Call down's there, as is the Soul Assumption. The call down caught no one, but they're getting clogged up trying to retreat. Visage Familiars are there. Soul Assumption kills off DDC. Faith now in trouble, and now Xiao 8 going to end up dropping to the Rocket Barrage. Nice Frostbite. Locks Rabbit down, and the Visage Familiars buying just enough time to get the Rocket Barrage off of cooldown. They end up trading carry for carry, but Ferrari and YYF are there to make it a full team wipe. LGD got their first 2 kills on the board, but it cost them 5, 12-2.
Unfortunately, no Hannah got in that fight. I think had that been up, they would have been able to trade much better than 5-4-2, I believe. But their early game was just too weak to try and 5-man. And we see LGD like usually have a very bad early game, but not this bad. Not 10-0.
And here's Xiao 8. He comes into what could be a world of hurt. Never mind. Here it comes. The IO relocate, and Rabbit lost the target. Shikuchi from Ferrari bought it just enough time. Nope. Will connect. He's got time lapse in 22 seconds. Don't know that that's soon enough. He's going to try to get out of trouble. The Visage Familiars are there to help him in the relocate. Sends him back to the well to refill their various things. Now Xiao 8 sprouted in. Call down will connect. The Rocket Barrage being eaten by a lot of creeps, though, did relatively small damage. Not going to matter. He's surrounded by too many unfriendly faces, but very nice stun on YYF. Caught him in the chakram. And LGD showing why they are so good at what they do. The Crystal Maiden ulti, not good enough. DD, once again, will be cleaned up by the Weaver. There's a time lapse to get him back to safety. 6 seconds on Unstable Concoction. As now Rabbit wants to turn and fight. He's going to find Faith with the Unstable Concoction. And Yao eating a lot of damage from Rocket Barrage. Does end up getting the kill with the Timber Chain, but will end up trading himself away. That's a triple kill going to Ferrari. And they have fed 4 more back. Every time they try to trade, IG just comes out not a little bit ahead, but miles ahead, and Ferrari taking control of this game. He's 8-0 at 14 minutes in.
Yeah, that is one scary Weaver. He's going to have his Lincolns relatively soon. Also, Hao went for a drums build early. They're just overrunning LGD. They don't really have a good solution for Weaver. I think had DK turned around and stunned them at the tower and then a relocate gank into a unstable concoction at the tower, that would have gone completely differently. But as you can see, they're not really that well oiled with Wisp. As soon as the relocate came, Dragon Knight tried to turn around and stun, but it's already too late. YYS saw it coming and just immediately bounced out of that fight. So Wisp, I can't say is very strong in the hands of LGD. A lot of times they've used it once defensively here to save the Alchemist, which is, there's much better heroes if you want to use Wisp as a defensive relocate person, and they didn't really get any good kills with the relocate here too. So I'm not impressed at all with DDC's Wisp.
You could just tell, and this comes back to what we were talking about during the draft. This is just not within their comfort zone. Now we're going to have to relocate. They're going to try to make it in their comfort zone, and they're going to land in. They're going to manage to find Faith. Faith will be blown up convincingly, and we're going to see Hal make it away this time around, though. So they do manage to get one. Mechanism now complete on the Nature's Prophet, by the way. I was going to point that out. Bit of an old school kind of a Nature's Prophet build. Did get the Midas up. Phase Boots, of course, good for a lane Nature's Prophet who was in that one-on-one. But at the same time, seeing the mech come out before Shadowblade, just not super rare, but not super common anymore either. DDC spotted out, will tether up to Yao to get out of trouble. Chakram tossed out, and Zhao waits there with a stun on Ferrari. Can they blow him up? Yes, they can. Yao, though, caught with the call down. A lot of damage being done, and they may decide to pursue this out. They're trying to loop around. Zhao 8 going to be the next one. Homing missile will connect. Ferrari has his DD popped. He's going to get on top of him, and Shin will get him home. Barely. But still got him home. Chakram now on the back of the fight. Yao manages to find a kill, a high value one. Or not the highest value one, I should say. But still a kill nonetheless. Ferrari, in the meantime, continues to just go crazy, diving all the way up to the tier 3s as the rest of his team continues to push through. Zhao 8 comes forward, will be stunned once again by the Visage Familiars. Tongfu, Hao, excuse me, with Tongfu at the end of his name, closes the gap. Sprouts there, down he goes.
GG soon. This is just absolutely brutal. Ferrari 11-0-5, 16 minutes in. He's been involved in an average of 1 kill a minute. As a Weaver, he has Power Treads, he has Lincoln Sphere, Bottle, 2,000 gold, 16 minutes time. He's just like attacking a T3 with not a care in the world.
Yep. He's a cool guy, doesn't afraid of anything. IG, and about as controlling a position as you could ask for any game of Dota. Oh, I don't know, 14 coming up on 15,000 gold lead at 16.5 minutes. That's not bad. I mean, I'm no pro. I hear that's okay, though. They tell me that.
It's so. Only about 1,000 gold a minute.
Yeah, give or take. I mean, it's all right. Lincoln Sphere done on Ferrari, by the way, which means he'll never die. He's now immortal. But BKB's also done on the gyro, and I mean, the items are just coming in too quick. I mean, jokes aside, that's really the issue here. You give up this many kills, this many towers, you have no map control, you have no way to farm safely, and you're getting nothing out of the IO now because there's nothing IG has to do except 5-man. They can just 5-man the rest of the game with this kind of a lead, this many items up, an Immortal Weaver, a BKB on the gyro, which means what little advantage you did have in terms of burst magic damage just is not going to matter. And the push potential that comes out of the Nature's Prophet. I'm with you. I believe this one is just about to GG status.
I think that the only ticket back to LGD getting into this game is just them being able to 5-man Dota. But with YYS item choice of an early mech, it kind of just makes their team fight much stronger. Weaver and Nature's Prophet usually not very good in team fights. CM, Gyrocopter, and Visage fare much better. But with the mech, LGD can't just rely on their same old, hey, let's just 5-man, we're behind. And they're really good at doing it, but not with a Wisp, not with a Chen who has absolutely no items and no levels. And I just don't, I'm at a loss as to what they can do now to turn this game around.
Well, we can see they have 0 towers remaining. Been very aggressive coming out. We got one here, one here, and one here. Essentially, anytime they even try to come out near where they're gonna be caught with the frostbite mid timber chain. Chin blows the heel, but ends up getting trapped with the Centaur as well. Cooldowns there, not necessary, but damn if it didn't look pretty. Securing the kill, and we're just going to see 430 he doesn't care about anything ever. He just dives tier 3s and is auto-attacking the Ancient at 18 minutes. It's fine. Rabbit, just look how much damage he's doing to that Alchemist. And he hasn't even built damage. He's got a Mithril Hammer, and that's about it. Lincoln's making him as survivable a hero as you're going to see at this stage of the game. And 12-0 for that Weaver while we're at it.
Yeah, he almost has his Desolator too. He's sitting at 1,600 gold, and they can just do Roshan. There's absolutely nothing that LGD can do to stop them right now. And IG doesn't have the split up, and Wisp is just exceptionally good at picking. Oh, YYF actually may get caught out here.
We're going to see YYF sprouting himself in, and they don't even have the damage. They don't have that one auto attack. Barely got that off. He would have tracked him down nonetheless, but... So they finally do get a clean kill without a negative trade, unless you count Roshan, which, you know, I do. Rosh does end up dropping. 19 and a half minutes in, the first Roshan drops. Gyro's going to pick that Aegis up because, again, the Weaver's already immortal with the Lincoln Sphere that came out at absurd timing. And I would imagine this is probably going to be just about the last stand for LGD. They got to, this is their last chance to really hold this game together.
That is a completed Desolator. We're talking about 20 minutes Lincoln's Desolator on Ferrari's Weaver. That is absolutely incredible. And I see the gem pickup too. So yes, this is the beginning of the end for LGD. And looking at Shadow 8's items, just Treads, Embracer, Alchemist, he has a Shadow Blade up, but what is it really going to do in team fights if they just force the issue up in mid? How has his BKB up? He has 3,400 gold too. We could even see a Rapier rush out of him, considering that he already has the Aegis and how far ahead his team is.
Speaking of far ahead, let's do a little mathematicking. If you add Alchemist and Timbersaw together, they come out to a net worth of 12.6. That is less than 1,000 gold. The Weaver is less than 1,000 gold away from that by himself. If you add everyone except for the Alchemist, if you add their net worth together from the side of LGD, Weaver's more farmed than all four put together. That's where he is at this point. He is so far ahead. And yeah, hitting for 180 damage, give or take, with the minus armor of the Swarm as well as the Deso. Don't know that we're going to see, say, a Chen survive more than one Geminate attack, literally. I think he's going to end up attacking one time, and Chen is just going to explode into a hail of pink mist.
Yep. And IG seems pretty content to just take a step back. I don't really know why they aren't pushing into T3. I don't think that LGD has a fantastic turtling lineup. Timbersaw is the best one they have, but they're just so far ahead at this point. Their kill score is 21-7, so IG averaging 1 kill per minute. Ferrari already with this completed Desolator and Lincoln's. He doesn't really have to worry about anything. Test of Faith is pretty much the only spell that can pop his Lincolns without using an extraordinary cooldown. And I mean, the cooldown in itself is pretty long, but they really want a long duration stun on them. They want to get a Dragon Tail or an Unstable Concoction.
And right now, all they can do is sit under the shadow of their own tier 3s. As you mentioned, IG, curiously, just kind of taking their time. Looks like they want to go ahead and, you know, take the enemy Ancients. Do what you do. And YYF is continuing to add to his inventory as well. With the mech and everything else, though, I really don't see any reason for them to not just sell out. Ferrari is just going to go sell out. Look at this DDC. Oh, Hand of God expended just to keep him. Nope, got him anyway. The Prophet ulti there, Nature's Wrath. More than enough to bring him down. And now look at Rabbit. They're going to pop the Lincolns. But Ferrari just doesn't care. Still has time lapse if he wanted it. And in the meantime, Banana with the split pushing Crystal Maiden. So typical, so standard. Does have some help coming up behind him. Frostbite on the high ground. Call down's going to be there as well. That is a blown-up Dragon Knight. BKB popped on How. And
GG comes out.
There it is. Kind of expected it. The last stand of LGD. Little bit more of a trip and fall. But IG demonstrating to all the world why, even though they weren't able to repeat at the International 3, there's still a name and a team full of players to be feared. An absolute dominant performance coming out of Invictus Gaming, and that's from beginning to end. But what more can you say about Ferrari? Runs the mid-weaver, winds up 12-0-7, XP per minute 656, 565 GPM, and still behind the gyro. He got almost all of that out of kills.
Super scary. I think LGD, if they want to win a game 2, they have to go away from the Chen and EO support. Just go with something more traditional, something that can do more a little bit early, maybe take Visage for themselves. But that was a very brutal game. LGD must be scratching their heads, thinking what they can do to take home one game, at least one.
That's a short one, 22 minutes, 36 seconds all the time. It took 23-7, the final kill score. Game 1 behind us, and LGD's fighting to keep their record in the positive column. IG in their first appearance looking damn good, ready to make it 1-0 in the win column as well. I'm your host, Aaron AC Chambers, joined by Merlini for the broadcast, and HyperX Dota bringing us the stats. Game number 2 of our second best of 3 of the night going to be coming up momentarily. Don't forget, just a few hours from now, we're going to have our third and final broadcast from the Eastern Division for today. And then we're going to have a few days off, but we'll be looking to announce some things and bring you some more D2L content throughout the week moving ahead. For now, though, once again, 1-0. IG takes the lead. LGD going to have to win 2 in a row. They can do it. They'll be near the top of the leaderboard in the D2L Eastern Division as a whole. Stick with us, guys. Just a few minutes of downtime. We'll be back with Game 2, IG LGD.